Hi, Brett Schaefer here with my 13th installment of What's Up at the InSource Group. And today we are excited to have as our special guest Rick Abraham. Rick has been in technology for over 20 years, and he's very well versed in developing and implementing cost-effective solutions in the areas of help desk, desktop support, and network administration. And he has been a technical instructor for PC repair, networking, and front-end coding for veterans. Some of his technical skills include Active Directory, Exchange, Voice over IP, Cisco switches, Palo Alto firewalls, installing new hardware for new colo data center, and LAN VPN support. Rick, thanks for joining us and welcome.
Thank you, Brett, for having me. I appreciate that.
Got it. Network administration, that's a difficult title. I mean, because it can cover a lot of different areas.
Certainly.
It has a lot of responsibilities. It could be configuring, upgrading, troubleshooting, deploying and updating software, managing servers, security, managing cloud and physical storage, routing and switching, wireless LAN technologies. What of these areas possesses the most challenge for companies?
They're all pretty important areas to get into, but for me personally, I think security is the biggest issue.
Okay.
A lot of times security goes unlooked at, mostly because of complacency.
Right.
I don't think most people realize how important security really is. They tend to think that, oh, my doors are locked. I have fobs to get me into facilities.
Right.
We have security. Everything should be fine, but that's what these guys do. They learn how to get around those types of things.
Right. That's what hackers do.
Exactly.
No, I'd agree with you. I think security is something at the top of every CIO's list in terms of, oh my gosh, we got to make sure that everything's going to be okay here. So I can see that. Can one person be fluent in all these areas of expertise required of a network admin, or what would you recommend for a small to medium-sized company that has a small IT department and a small budget?
Well, that's a very good question, Brett. I think you can learn most of it.
Okay.
I don't think you could be an expert in all of it. And that's what you tend to see in network administration. Most people, they'll tend to, specialize in a certain area, just like a doctor would, a brain surgeon, and so forth. But I think for a small company, obviously budget's a big issue. You're not going to go out there and spend millions of dollars in labor.
Right.
So what they have to do is look for somebody that's pretty well versed, that's knowledgeable about a lot of it, but most importantly, has the ability to find information.
Okay.
I think that's key for any employer. Are they able to look up information on their own and then execute what they found?
Right. Okay. All right. Very good. When you review resumes of other desktop support and network admins, what do you look for in resumes to say, this is somebody I'd like to talk with?
Well, obviously, I look for their experience and want to make sure they can do the job. But I think the thing that stands out to me mostly is longevity.
Okay.
I look at how long somebody's been at a company. I realize there are 6-month contract jobs that tend to get hired, and for different reasons why they don't.
Right.
But if you stay active and there's no long breaks, that tells me something. And if you do have a long break, what are you doing about it? Are you going to community college? Are you taking a class? Or even doing something even on LinkedIn and taking a course? So I look for those sorts of things on a resume also.
I see hiring managers of mine, they want to know what they have for hobbies, on the side. Even people, whether they're employed or unemployed, they're like, what are you doing to better yourself, and what are you doing to, what's the latest book that you've read? So I see a lot of managers ask me those types of questions as well, so I can see where you're going. What are the top 3 things you have to offer to a company?
Well, I think dedication and loyalty for me is one of my personal traits that I like to express anywhere I work. I think one of the other things that I bring to the job is getting it done. I take ownership.
Right.
In fact, every job I work at, I usually tell them that in the interview. If I'm selected, I'm going to take ownership of this network.
Right.
It makes the employer feel comfortable. It makes myself feel comfortable knowing that I have at least some empowerment to make something get done. And I think the other third thing that a lot of people are forgetting these days is I show up to work on time. Actually, I'm early.
Right.
And I think that's a big problem these days. I see it a lot happening in almost every industry. People show up 10, 15 minutes late, and they don't realize how those 10, 15 minutes add up over a week, but it's actually costing the company more money than they really need to be paying.
Well, I think that's part of ownership is what you were talking about. You're
Exactly.
committed. Exactly. Okay. What do you do to stay current? How do you keep up with all of these things that's involved in a desktop support network admin position?
Well, there's certainly a lot of stuff, but to be fair, I'm a junkie. I'm a nerd from back in the day. I took my first programming class in 8th grade. I learned BASIC, the original BASIC.
Okay.
And of course, went in the military shortly after that. But for what I do, and my girlfriend's also IT, we actually dedicate 2 hours a night to doing something in IT, whether it's social media or if it's front end development with a website, or even certainly right now I'm working on security certification. So we constantly try to do something at least every night, and then on the weekends we'll have this little programming fest. We might pick Java or JavaScripting and just start writing some code.
Okay, wow. So you have somebody your partner in crime, somebody to kind of keep you challenged with that.
Exactly.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and it's kind of helps us when we troubleshoot.
Right.
You might overlook a period. That's we always talk about the periods and the commas.
Right.
But you might overlook something that somebody else can catch for you.
Okay. What's one thing that's really important to you when you're looking for a company?
I think I'm looking for stability. I'm not opposed to working for a startup company. In fact, I encourage startups.
Right.
But if it's going to be a startup in a relatively new business, I look for what did they do previously? What did the CEOs do previously, or any of the directors, or any of the administrative officers? What have they done in the past? If it's a company that's been around, such as IBM, long term, then what I look for is it going to be something I'm going to be happy with? Am I going to be the right fit?
Right.
And I think that's a big part of working for a larger corporation.
Well, I think that's important. I think that's what companies look for in employees as well. Is it going to be the right fit? Not only the technical skills, but do they have the personality and going to fit within a culture that they've already established? So, you've worked with recruiters before. What do you look for in a recruiting agency?
Well, honestly, I even have friends that are recruiters. So one of the key things that I watch for is the recruiter is just out to make a quick buck. I know when I'm being placed that they're making a commission off of my tenure, and as long as I fulfill that. Some of the recruiters I've met, even here since moving here, is that they're quick about making how much money am I going to make off this guy? Is he going to be in the 6-figure mark or not? Because they're looking at the end of the day how much money they're going to make. I don't find that actually with the InSource Group, believe it or not. I find that a recruiter that cares about the employee they're trying to place will do better, and simply because that employee will come back to them if they need to, and the same with the employer. They'll come back to that person as long as there's a great fit before.
Right. Okay. Very good. Very good. There's a talent shortage in quality candidates within IT, especially here in Dallas-Fort Worth. What advice would you have to give to a hiring manager, looking to bring on another candidate in today's market?
Well, one of the things that I notice looking at some of these job descriptions, like, wow, if I could find somebody that's golden, I'd be so happy. But the truth is, it's more of a wish list, and I think that's what employers and employees need to understand is that there's a lot of stuff that they're trying to get done, but the likelihood of finding somebody that knows all of what they're exactly looking for is going to be slim. What you need to look for is somebody that's able to learn what they need, and it also shows that dedication. And I think that's the important part for an employer. Look at somebody, can they do the job? And if they don't already have the skills, can they learn it? Right.
Yeah. Be realistic in the expectations of what you're trying to fill.
And honesty, integrity is the biggest part in that conversation.
Right. Okay. Rick, in some conversations I've had with you, I realized there's a lot more to Rick Abraham than what your IT background fits. There's some interesting things about your background that you normally wouldn't put on a resume. Why don't you share one or two of those ideas here with us?
Well, I think one of the big ones that people like is that I've been in film and TV. I've been on some very popular TV shows. And some great movies. But by doing that, I think what ended up happening was I met other folks that are in the film industry, and that actually opened up doors for me too.
Okay.
So I went from being in front of the camera and playing actor, background, doing this whole part to now I'm actually behind the camera and I'm actually part of the crew.
Oh, really?
And I'm pulling in data. It's actually data that I'm pulling in from the cameras and getting off to editing. And all of it's digital. Same with the recordings, it's all digital. Even this video is all digital. So that requires an IT person nowadays, not what they call a loader from the old days. And the other thing I like to do is I like to dabble in politics. I don't think a lot of people do it, and I think it's frustrating for most folks. But at the end of the day, I think it's all of our responsibilities to get involved in politics on some level, because this is our country, and I love our country, and I love our citizens, and if we really want to express our feelings, that's the proper way of doing it, not rioting in the streets.
Right. Okay. All right. How would you describe your experience with the InSource Group?
I've had a great time. In fact, I'll be completely candid. I've talked to other recruiters. But one thing I really liked, Brett, was that you and Henna both reached out to me. Not only that, you took me out to lunch, and that's a good way to get to my heart. But the most important thing I liked about the InSource Group is that, as we mentioned, I was teaching veterans last year, and I was able to give my veterans an opportunity simply by going through Hannah, one of your employees at the InSource Group. Not only did she help find them work, but she kept me abreast as to what was going on also. And I think that's great. We have a company that's willing to work with their candidates as well as their clients.
Well, I appreciate that. That's great. Rick, hey, thanks for your time.
Thank you.
You've given us a lot of great information. And listen, folks, you just heard some great information here from Rick, and he's currently looking for his next opportunity. So if you're looking to fill a position on your team that utilizes his desktop and networking skills, you're going to be pretty hard-pressed to find someone better. Message me, and I'll get you his resume. See you next Monday.